For 38 years, Franke served as the head wrestling coach and associate professor of physical education at Washington and Lee University. During his tenure, he coached 14 national qualifiers and the school's only All-American. He was named the Old Dominion Athletic Conference Coach of the Year 3 times after leading the Generals to 3 league titles. His 196 career dual meet victories ranked first all-time in the 89-year history of the wrestling program. Perhaps most importantly to Coach Franke are the 24 NWCA Academic Scholar All-Americans and 1 NCAA Postgraduate Scholar he had the privilege to coach. Ladies and gentlemen, 2013 NWCA Division III Coaches Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Gary Franke.
Thanks to the guy behind the scenes. Welcome to all of you here gathered this evening. It's an exciting time for coaches and supporters and fans, and I can't help but thank my wife, who couldn't make it this weekend, and my 2 children, Karen and Ryan Franke, for their support over the 38 years to our wrestling program. I think, first of all, it's not so much about me. It's always about the student athletes that you guys get to coach. I'm no longer coaching, so I say you guys. But it's also about the great institutions that you have an opportunity to represent. And there are 2 things I learned years ago from some of the greatest coaches here, from many other coaches, is that you have to be an outstanding teacher and a great leader of young men. And if you do those 2 things, coaches, especially young coaches, you'll be very successful as a coach. And you may not win like the A and the W that walk away with all the awards at this tournament. There's 2 schools, one starts with an A and one starts with a W. But you'll be very successful, and that's very important. Just a little history about Washington Lee. Many of you don't even know where that is. I didn't know where it was. I'm a native of Minnesota. I ended up going there when I was 23 years old. It's in Lexington, Virginia. It's southwest of D.C., about 3.5 hours. It was founded or endowed by George Washington. Robert E. Lee, after the war, became our president. We renamed it after Robert E. Lee, so it's Washington and Lee. A story about Washington Lee in another way. I run into Dave Eisenhower. He's sitting over here, former coach of college in New Jersey, and he says to me, "How are things down in the sticks of Lexington?" Not good. The next time I see him 2 years later at another tournament, "How are things down in the sticks in Lexington?" I'm ready for him this time. I say, "Well, you know, Dave, our school was established in 1749. They didn't even break ground at your school at that time." He kind of looks at me, doesn't say much. That's 106 years before, you even thought about going. And I said, "I have an indirect win over you." And he looks at me, an indirect win. And I said, "Yeah, we hosted the 1936 NCAA championship at Washington and Lee. And it was 1 division." And he looked at me and he says, "Were you coaching then?" Just a little history about this championship. It was my first year of coaching. The first tournament, this is the 40th anniversary, it was held at Wilkes. Wilkes won that championship. There were 152 Division III wrestling schools that had an opportunity to enter. And today we have 88 teams, and we're growing, as Mike Moyer told us today. And there are 64 teams represented in this championship. There are 2 coaches. One, he kind of spoke up in the coaches meeting today, and I didn't know if I should introduce him and talk to him, but I want to tell you about 2 people that coached in that tournament and are still coaching today. One just is completing his 43rd year of coaching. He's won this championship 5 times. Don Murray of Brockport State. Brockport, where are you, Don? Stand up, Don. Where's Don? Did he leave? Yeah. Unbelievable. The other, he hosted this championship twice, the most recent in 1993. He was the athletic director, the head wrestling coach, and the tournament director. I think he did a little training. I saw him take some angles. He's completing his 47th season at the United States Coast Guard Academy. Steve, please stand up. I call these 2 guys the gladiators of our sport. I've known them for many years and watched them coach and have a lot of success. Some exciting things about this championship. Not long ago, we were at 160 competitors. We moved to 170. The most exciting thing about this year, we have 10 more kids that have an opportunity to wrestle in this championship. And there are 2 guys that made that happen. And I was on the committee but it didn't happen through me. Anthony Holman, one of the guys that, lobbied and petitioned and talked to the right people and wrote a lot of letters, and the other, he's here sitting over in the corner, Jeff Swenson. Those two guys made that happen, and I'm so glad that it did happen, and we're at 180. Where's Jeff? Jeff, stand up. Former chair of our institute. Dick, who's running this tournament, I would like to thank, and I'd also like to thank Cornell College for hosting this, and I know there's some volunteers in the audience tonight, and the people that made this happen. Dick unfortunately had to run over. We've had some problems over there, not major, but he's still hanging out over there, but I'd like to thank you very much. Enjoy. Coaches, good luck.